We're smack dab in the middle of what had been an unusually mild tornado season. That changed last week when dozens of tornadoes touched down across the southern plains, killing at least 38 people and destroying hundreds of homes. It's the kind of devastation New Englanders typically only witness on the news. But 3 years ago, it was a very similar scene here at home after a tornado ripped across western Massachusetts, with the town of Monson taking a direct hit. WGBH News reporter Anne Mostue returned to Monson to see what's changed since the tornado struck and how much work still needs to be done to rebuild.
Dark, heavy, gray, and greenish clouds appeared in the skies above central Massachusetts on that June 1st afternoon.
It was surreal. It was just unbelievable.
Then swirling funnel clouds descended on Springfield and neighboring towns. One tornado roared along the Mass Pike, shearing the woods leading to the tiny hamlet of Monson, wreaking havoc on the home of Tom and Donna Gilman.
The entire roof came out, so all the wood, the structure inside, everything had to be removed.
The tornado sucked the roof off their home, but left the stone facade standing. Donna and Tom waited it out safely in the basement. Son Mike was in Hartford, and when it was all over, rushed home.
This is really difficult on them. You know, this is the only home that my mother has ever known.
Mike helped with repairs, new windows, a roof, floors, cabinets, and a new garage.
It was really frustrating because it was 3 years without a definite end date, you know, and it seemed like one thing after another.
The work totaled about $300,000. Homeowners insurance covered most of that, but not all.
In order to get back home, you know, we had to dip into, well, Tom's life insurance, borrow against that, $16,000. We had to take $55,000 out of our retirement account to get back home.
After nearly 3 years of renting a nearby condo, the Gilmans have just moved home.
We're feeling very uplifted. We are very grateful to be home. You know, the old saying, no place like home. There really is no place like home.
Mike Gilman says he still can't believe the changes to the landscape.
None of those houses you could see, they were all completely covered by trees.
Not only are the trees gone, but some residents say the town is noticeably windier. Still, town manager Evan Brassard says they are rebuilding. The steeple is back on the First Church. A new $10 million building is going up to house the town hall and police station. FEMA agreed to reimburse Monson 75% of the disaster dollars, but it took a while.
You're dealing with kind of federal and state level bureaucracies that have certain ways that things need to be done, and I think they need to be done that way because of fraud and all these other, you know, kind of ancillary concerns.
But as the town recovers, financially and physically, there's still that lingering question. Will another tornado touch down in Massachusetts, in Monson?
I think we still have people that are leery of weather. We still have a lot of kind of that fear out there.
Despite the lingering fear, both Brassard and the Gilman family say the town pride and volunteer spirit in Monson remains strong.
Now, the third anniversary of the tornadoes is coming up, Emily, on June 1st, but there aren't any big plans to commemorate it in Monson.
I can understand that. Well, the city of Springfield was also affected, and you were living there at the time. How have they recovered?
Right. I was living and working downtown when it hit. The city of Springfield is almost fully recovered. It looks much, much better than it did 3 years ago. I spoke with the town planning director today, or the city planning director today, and he said that the process of getting the money from FEMA and from federal organizations has been very long but very methodical. He wasn't complaining. He said they still need to repair some roads and they still need to rebuild the senior center and the large community center.
All right, Anne Mostue, thanks for that. All right, well, before the tornado hit Monson, my next guest was a realtor and active volunteer. She now helps to coordinate disaster response efforts all across the country. Karen King founded the Street Angels Volunteer Network. Welcome back to Greater Boston, Karen.
Thank you for inviting me.
So are the Gilmans about where everybody else is, or have some people been able to move back much more quickly?
Most of the people have moved back much more quickly, but the Gilmans were probably one of our last families that have gone back. But we are still helping every Saturday in Wilbraham with a family who is still displaced from their home.
And why? Why haven't things moved more quickly?
I think that they had difficulties with their insurance, and in order to completely rebuild, once they started pulling the walls away because it was an older home, they realized there was much more damage than they were reimbursed for, so they couldn't afford to have contractors do it. So we've had groups of church volunteers and all volunteers from all walks of life coming every single Saturday, still to this day, helping the people.
Did anyone just throw in the towel and say, you know what, my community has changed so dramatically, my home is ruined, I'm just leaving?
Some did. Some just couldn't bear the thought of moving back to the same spot where their home was once and looking out over the devastation. And also, we just really do have a lot of support within the community. Some of our social media helps with them when there's wind, when there's a lot of wind, there's a thunderstorm. People are just still afraid to this day that it's going to happen again.
I thought that was fascinating about more wind. I don't know if it's true or not, but it sounds like it could be. Is there any plans to environmentally rebuild? Can you plant trees? I mean, the landscape is just vastly different. It's not in its natural state.
Well, and that's what we've been doing on the anniversaries. The first anniversary, we had a memorial type of a service, and since then we've had tree planting. So that's what we do. We have a lot of volunteers come for that day. We've been very lucky with FEMA and the Department of Conservation that they have donated a lot of trees, nurseries have. So we do a lot of tree planting still. But of course, they're never going to grow up high enough to block the winds in our lifetime.
No.
Right.
So how did you get involved? Your house was not damaged, but you lived
Right.
there.
I had family members that lived downtown that had homes destroyed, and they were staying with me. So I was looking for shelters for them. So I started calling to try to get them into houses maybe that we weren't selling so that they could rent houses. And then because as a realtor, what I do is have a team. I actually went to the church to see how I could help, and we formed teams with the volunteers. So I'm now the Monson disaster volunteer coordinator, and I do help I'm involved with the volunteers organized active in disaster in our community in Western Mass. I've gone to the national conferences and spoken. So I've become
an
involved.
expert. Disaster expert
on the job training.
Have you ever gone to any of the Plain States or wherever when they have these horrible
I have not.
storms?
We have helped them on social media, though, because we have developed Facebook pages that have is what helped us in the early days, so people could coordinate, and I've done that for them, and they don't know that I'm from Massachusetts and someone who doesn't know it at all. So I've been more on the teams of organizing and getting the word out there, and we've actually sent truckloads of things after Sandy to New York.
How would you sum up your experience or your community's experience with FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Association?
I think confusing. That would be a good word. I think that we didn't understand the process, so I think we need to break it down. I just spoke at a FEMA conference regionally about a month ago, and that was one of the things we talked about, communication, and I know they're working really hard at doing that.
Hope they took some notes.
Yes, they did.
Karen King, thanks so much.